Hi, and welcome to today's lecture on kinship and family. First, let's look at families as social institutions. Social institutions provide a basic pattern or framework that provides norms, values, beliefs, and social stability. The functions of a family are economic support from family members, the education and socialization of children, providing for and taking care of the elderly and the sick, as well as religious instruction. According to anthropologists, many cultures around the world use the word family differently. To individuals here in the United States, there exists the concept of a nuclear family, where a mother, father, and their children reside together, while others consider all of those people biologically related as family. So what is kinship? According to Fox, 1967, kinship and marriage are about the basic facts of life. They are about birth and conception and death, the eternal round that seemed to depress the poet, but which excites, among others, the anthropologist. Man is an animal, but he puts the basic facts of life to work for himself in ways that no other animal does or can. Kinships are networks, as well as social relationships. According to Tonkinson, it is best visualized as a mass of networks of relatedness, not two of which are identical, that radiate from each individual. Kinship is the basic organizing principle in small-scale societies, provides a model for interpersonal behavior. Here are some key questions to think about as you do the readings for this week. What is the future of kinship studies within anthropology? How do new reproductive technologies impact our understanding and definitions of family, personhood, and marriage? What new familial arrangements are emerging? And how can anthropologists understand and make sense of these changes? Anthropologists must look at reconstituted families, how family structures and dynamics have changed over time. We must also look at the challenges of understanding and studying various technological innovations, such as fertility treatments, genetic testings, posthumous conception, cloning, and also the mapping of the human genome. All of these technologies shake the fundamental conceptions of familial connections. People can and do freeze their eggs and sperm, and they can have children after they've passed. What does that mean for this definition of family, or parenthood, motherhood, or fatherhood? Are these biological connections, or is there something more? Is it social and cultural? Now it's time to talk about your next assignment, the kinship diagram. What is a kinship diagram? It's a diagram of kinship relations using symbols to indicate males, females, marriages, divorces, siblings, and everything else. It's also called a kinship chart. And these are the symbols you're going to need to know. The triangle represents male, the circle, female, and there are lines and equal signs and everything else. So we see the bracket on top. That means a sibling relationship. If you strike a line through the triangle or the circle, it means that person has passed. Now, for purposes of the kinship diagram you have to complete, I would like you to be ego. You don't necessarily need to be a square, but that's so I can tell who you are. You can also use a different shape, just so you can distinguish yourself from the rest of your family when you make your diagram. So this is a kinship diagram. This is from one of my students from a few years ago. Now, if you look closely at this amazing diagram, you can find Diego right there. He worked really hard. He has 2 sisters, but he also traced both his matrilineal kinship and his patrilineal kinship. So that's his father's side, and that's his mother's side. It's pretty complex. His mother has a lot of siblings, and so does his father. And these are all of Diego's cousins. So, how do you create a kinship diagram? Well, take a deep breath. This is going to take you a while. Here are some tips and tricks that I like to give my students. First, sketch it out in pencil, use a good eraser, and get a straight edge. Next, you might have to call a family member to get information about everybody. I want you to trace at least 3 generations. So that means go up to your grandparents. Now, if you want to really push yourself, you can go even further than that. I also want you to be creative and challenge yourself. Now, I know some of you come from huge families, and that means yours might look a lot like Diego's, where it gets really, really long and very, very complex. That's okay. But if your family is really huge, you can also choose to do either matrilineal or patrilineal descent. You don't have to do both, but I really want you to try and challenge yourself. Also, just do your best. I'm looking for effort, not accuracy. I'm not going to call up your parents and verify that your information is correct. I just really want you to take the time and put forth some effort. And of course, please be creative. Now, most of my students choose to do digital diagrams, like the examples I'm about to show you. But you can also make a fun arts and crafts diagram. You can get a poster board and cut out pictures and use glitter and markers and paint and really do whatever you want. As long as you can send me a picture of it, that's great. When you're done creating the diagram, I'd like you to answer this question. Something to think about. Families are more than lines on a family tree. They represent stories, power dynamics, even mysteries. As you reflect on the process of mapping your kinship relationships, what stories does your diagram tell, and what patterns does it reveal? Here's one more diagram from a student. She got very creative with her color palette and her background. And here's one more example of a kinship diagram. This was created by a student last semester. Here she is right here, and you can see she traced her matrilineal side of her family. And these are her aunts and uncles here, and these are all of her cousins. So that's a really big family. In this case, she marked various relationships, but you can do it however you want. There's a science to it, but again, I'm not looking for precision. I want you to do this for yourself to really map out and see how your family is structured. And of course, have fun with it. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.